Okay, law number 3, the second of the 3 mechanical laws, has to do with swing path. And again, as we say, keeping it simple, keeping it on point, thinking about the right things in the right way at the right time. These 3 mechanical laws are immutable, unchanging, and basically players have been doing them as long as the game has been played in different ways. The swing path is very important. It has to do with what direction we have the angle that we have established in our swing between our arms and the shaft of our club. What direction we have that angle moving in as we make our swing. When we set up looking at our swing from a downline view, there's a couple of planes established, and swing plane is very confusing for folks. Again, there's several different ways to describe the same thing, actually, but important lines in our golf swing are going to have to do with the bottom line here, which is the shaft plane, and the top line is referred to as the shoulder plane. So in our golf swing, what we're going to want to do is essentially move the angle through the plane inside of these two lines. Now how we take it back, how we take the club back isn't law. You'll see players bring the club back and actually take it outside of these lines, whether it's outside the plane of the swing out in this area. Some players might drag it back inside the plane of the swing in this area. Nevertheless, on the downswing, it's essential that we have that angle working through the plane inside of these two lines. So again, I'll demonstrate here what one thing we do not want to do as far as our downswing move is in so many higher handicappers and beginners will violate this particular law. Okay, I'm taking it back, and as you can see, I'm just kind of lifting the club straight up, immediately taking it outside the plane. And as I say, that's okay. Let's say we get to the top of the swing here and we're back inside the plane, and the club is it's a little bit out of plane right there. It's a little bit laid off, but again, there are a lot of really good players who will set the club in a slightly laid off position at the top. So really, we're not breaking any laws at this point. Now as we make that downswing move, as we initiate our go move out of the top of the swing, boom, we've broken the law right there, and you just can't play golf that way. This would be the same thing as trying to drive a nail into a surface. It's the analogy we use in the R3 approach. If it's the same thing as trying to drive a nail into a surface while swinging the hammer into the nail at a very poor angle. We're going to bend the nail every time. As you can see, that club is being cast right out over the top of the swing, and it's way outside the plane of the swing, and consequently the direction that we have that swing path moving in is coming from an extremely outside in direction. We'll swing across, and the club will end up coming back across down in that area. Boom. So very much a higher handicapper, typically maybe a social recreational player's problem because they're new to the game. We have to get to the point where we understand what moving the club through a good plane is all about. So with the release board, again, very effective tool to understand positions that we want to get or develop in our golf swing. In this case, the ball would be somewhere in that area right there. So if I establish that shaft plane as we did in the left-hand video, and then we throw in a shoulder plane right there, now what we can begin doing, and here I'm watching myself actually in a mirror as I take the club back more in the plane of the swing, and with the release board we can actually see some rotation of the board as I take my arms to pivot and take my arms to the set position of the swing. So the position I'm really looking for in the swing is to have my club work through a nice plane on the way back while rotating my arms slightly, which puts the release board into a nice square position at the top of my swing. Square means that the club face has rotated into the plane of the swing, as I'm demonstrating here with the release board. So it's very effective to watch ourselves in a mirror or a reflection. I mean, it could be a window or something, but watching ourselves make these movements is a very effective way to correctly and sufficiently repeat these movements. So then, once I get to the set position of my swing, what I'll do is bring the board back down, or bring the angle back down in the plane of the swing, as I'm demonstrating right here, getting that club back into a position as it enters that 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone. Here we're violating the law. We're going to get a ticket for this. Alright, over here on the right, again, I'm just feeling myself bring the angle back down so that when I enter that 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone, the angle now is in plane. That's the position we'd love to have our golf club in as it enters that 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone, squaring up nicely, getting in line with our target line. In other words, that line right now is pretty much in line with my setup positions. Okay, so what we want to feel at this point, moving it through the plane of the swing, that's what this is all about. And then as we enter that 9 to 3 impact zone, you can see how I've rotated the board over. That's the arm release we talked about, or we'll talk about next in law number 4. But again, if we understand what we're doing with the swing path, we'll understand that as we take it back, we'll set the club at the top of the swing, move it through the bottom of the swing in such a way that when we come through on the other side of the swing, that board is going to be very close to where we had it at the top of the swing during the set position. And then what we need to do is correctly and sufficiently feel this movement through the 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone thousands and thousands of times. And it doesn't take as much time and effort as you might think to make thousands of these movements. As I say, every move counts, whether we're at home, warming up, practice swings, real swings, range swings. Every move we make needs to involve this movement. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Literally thousands of times. That's how we get our swing to the point where it is truly, it can be considered a motor skill movement. In other words, a movement that we're not thinking about, we just do. So if we're casting that club out, we're losing the angle, we've violated the swing path, and then it makes it nearly impossible to get the correct release action that we need through the bottom of the swing in order to hit a solid shot. Now, one other point here, more experienced players, lower handicappers, typically what happens in the progression of building our swing, lower handicappers, more experienced players will actually have a problem with dropping, just like the higher handicapper is going to have a problem with casting the club out above the shoulder plane line. A lower handicapper, a lot of your tour level players will have a bit of a problem having the club drop too far under the plane. So over the plane out here tends to be a higher handicapper problem, and then what we go about the process of correcting that movement, and what we end up doing as we do get better at our golf swing process, we'll actually have a problem getting the club trapped under the plane of the swing. So we don't want that club to be working outside the plane on either side. A little too steep out here, or a little too deep or under here, which is again is a more experienced player problem. So swing path is very important law to understand, and as I say, it is law. It's the same now as it's always been and always will be. So in terms of thinking about and working on the right things in the right way and at the right time, swing path here, the second of the 3 mechanical laws found on the what axis in the R3 approach, is absolutely necessary. We have to get to the point where we make this movement, understand this movement, in the process of maintaining our golf swings. Okay, so let's not cast out over the top like that. Let's get that club working in a good plane. during our golf swing. It'll put us on a path to hitting good solid shots. And again, the goal is perspective number one, where we will anticipate the time that we'll be making this movement without thinking about it. It'll be just as normal and natural to us to make this movement as walking from the golf cart to the practice tee. Alrighty, very good. Let's keep on point here and continue thinking about doing the right things in the right way and at the right time. Very good. Let's continue doing good work.